I just finished this. I showed you some ways on how to blend your colors. I did 2 different sections, so my background isn't looking the nicest right now. I would suggest for you guys to do one or the other, not both. But I do want to show you another style or version that you can do. So that was with Crayola watercolor markers, or just Crayola markers. And this next section that I'm going to do, I'm actually going to do with watercolor paint. So here I have a paint palette, and I'm going to challenge myself to only using the primary colors. So what I'm going to do to start first, if you want to mix colors, what works really well is if you paint your paper with a little bit of water first in a section. So I'm going to put green here to start. And then this is called wet and wet. So the paint will kind of start bleeding out a little bit. And then I have to go to my next color. So my next color is going to be yellow. I know I said I was going to start with the primary colors, and then I already broke my own rule. But here's my yellow. I'm going to extend that. So now I'm going to take just some water, and I'm going to watch it bleed. It's going to go from kind of a bright, vibrant yellow to a more washed out, lighter yellow. I'm going to bring that down quite a bit because I need to get an orange in there. So now I'm going to take red, and I'm going to paint red from this bottom section up into my yellow, hoping that it mixes to make an orange. And you can kind of see it starting to bleed. Now, if my orange doesn't come through, I can go back with yellow and kind of mix this section here to make orange. And then I'm going to continue with my red. Of course, you're going to want to go to the edges of your page, and you want to have kind of a nice, smooth, clean application. And then I'm going to take water again, paint down towards the bottom, bring in my blue. So here's my blue section, and I'm going to paint that nice and even, long strokes up into my red, and that will start mixing to make violet. My last option and section to show you guys another way that you can do this background painting. So I did one with marker, I did one mixing Crayola marker with water, and then I used watercolor paints here. This next section would be using acrylic paints, and I have just some examples here on a piece of paper towel, and this is the paint that I'm using. This is just an acrylic tube you can find at Walmart at different places, but again, we're not asking you to get materials, so we want you to use anything that you have at home. But I'm going to show you a way that you could use acrylic either thicker or thinner with water to make it transparent and act like a watercolor paint. So I just loaded my brush here. I'm starting with my lightest color first because I know that my water container is going to start mixing and mud up any light colors that I have. So when I start painting here, I'm going to just bring in my yellow, and I can either do this with a thick paint application, and then as I paint, if I grab my next color right away, so red, and I mix that right on the page, they will mix together. Another thing you can do is you can mix orange off to the side. So taking red and mixing red with yellow makes my orange. Or I can take a little bit of water, and I can add some water with this paint, and that will help thin out my paint and help me paint a larger surface faster. So I'm just taking some water with my acrylic paint now, and that's thinning it out. You do not have to, but I wanted to show you a way to make a watercolor paint using acrylic if that's kind of a desired look you're trying to go for. And then I'm going to keep going down just like I did before, and I'm going to actually start bringing my blue in, and I'm going to bring the blue in from the bottom, And I'm going to have that mix over the top of the red. That's when we get our secondary colors, when we overlap the two together. So there I've got my primary and secondary colors. I do need to add a little bit of yellow down here at the bottom, which will then mix with my blue to give me green. So that's another way that you could do your background.